Everyone, good evening. My name is Pradeepta Mishra. And thank you, War India, for giving me this opportunity to share my ideas. So first of all, I would like to mention what is data privacy. So the data privacy is the way we collect personal information and sensitive information. The way we collect, the way we store, the way we access and transfer from one system to another system, or the way we transfer from one place, like let's take one cloud environment to another cloud environment. The way we are transferring the data, it should be secure. It should be meeting all the data privacy guidelines. What are those data privacy guidelines? So the guidelines are like GDPR, CCPA, NIST, and currently in India, we have Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which got passed 2023, August 11. So this DPDP Act, it requires there are certain rules also. Government has published, I think last week or last to last week. That's about how to access personal data, how to protect it, how to use it, how to share it with your different partners or different organizations or anybody your organization has any kind of commitment or any kind of partnership, etc. So what is the problem with data security and privacy? So we are Data Safeguard. Data Safeguard Inc. is a startup. I would call it startup, and we started 2021. And it's a California headquartered startup, and we are into data privacy. We help the organizations meeting compliance, and we help the organizations in meeting the data privacy guidelines as well. Now, what are those data privacy guidelines? Now, let's look at two things. There is a difference between data security and data privacy. What is security? Security means you are protecting your data from unauthorized access. So let's take there is a ransomware attack happens, and somebody steals your entire database. Right? And if it contains PII data, what are those PII data? Name, mobile number, email address, social security number. In India, it's maybe PAN card, Aadhaar card. If somebody is copying the entire data, right? And you have to pay to that particular hacker to get the data released. If you are not paying, they may sell the data on the dark web. And that's the risk. So if your customers or if your client's data is getting hacked by someone else, then it's a problem, okay? So data privacy is about if I maintain the confidentiality of my client. So what I can do, maybe I can do masking or I can do redaction. So there are two ways to handle it. Now masking means you can shuffle the information, you can scramble it, you can alter the sequence of a text, or you can maybe replace with some additional text or add something else, right? So the masking way, there are finite ways of masking. You can shuffle it, scramble it, alter the text, whatever you want to do, you can do. But that is reversible. Someone can apply an algorithm to reverse the masking process, and again, they can see the data as well. However, when you go for redaction, redaction is permanently deleting that information. So when the data moves from a production environment or a live environment to any kind of lower environment, like development environment, like a QA environment, like a application testing environment, when the data is moving from a live production environment to a lower environment, you need to do masking and redaction, because all the environments are not protected at the same level. The higher environments or the upper environments like the live and the production data, you may have additional security layers to protect the data. But when the data is going from higher environment to lower environments, like somebody is asking to develop an application, the AI/ML team is asking to do some modeling exercise or to develop some kind of models, then you are actually transferring the PII data along with the other data also to those teams. Now, in this process, these development environments or QA or testing environments are not adequately secured. That's why there is a chance that your data may get leaked, your data may get hacked. Now, because of this, if you go ahead with a redaction, then obviously you can maintain the confidentiality of the data, and there is no way, even if somebody hacks the data also, it's of no use to them, because it's already redacted, okay? So the difference between, I just told the difference between like masking, redaction, data privacy, and security. So we are into, we help the organizations in doing redaction. So we have a flagship product that is called ID Mask. As a company, we have 4 different products: ID Mask, ID Redact, anti-money laundering, which is called AML, and synthetic fraud prevention. Now coming back to what is synthetic fraud. Synthetic fraud is digital identity you are creating, and that's like a fake identity. You are creating a fake identity to secure a loan or apply for a loan, and you get the loan, and you divert the funds to some other account. How do you trace who is this individual actually? Maybe I can just take a PAN card of someone else, Aadhaar card of someone else, create a digital identity, and take a loan from any kind of fintech apps. Now what happens if I don't pay it back? There is no way they can trace it back. So this is called synthetic fraud, and the synthetic frauds are being increasing like last 2.5 years, particularly during COVID times, etc. So people who are not existing at all, their identities are being created digitally, and some miscreants also, they are taking loans on those persons' names. So that's called your synthetic fraud. So this synthetic fraud also, this is going to increase in coming years. That's why we have these 4 different kinds of products. And today, I would like to talk about ID Redact. And why it is important to go ahead with the redaction is that because we need to maintain the privacy of individuals or customers or clients. Like I'm a bank, let's take. And as per GDPR guidelines, if I'm using the entire master database to do some kind of modeling or some kind of database management or developing some kind of applications, and I'm transferring the live and production data to a lower environment, I have to mask it or redact it. If I'm not doing it, I'm not compliant, and because of this, I will attract penalty from like any kind of legal entities. In India, if you look at DPDP Act, and if you are not following the guidelines, there is a penalty, and you can guess what is the amount of penalty, right? It's 250 crores in India. If there is a violation of DPDP Act in India, okay? Now, what are the benefits of this redaction? Let's have a look at it. First of all, you will build customers' trust. Now, how many of you are getting calls for loan or credit card every day? Probably at least 5 calls a day, right? How come they are getting your mobile number? Who is that person who is calling you for a loan and they have your mobile number? How come they have your mobile number? We provide our mobile number at particular places like hotels, like banks, like financial institutions, like insurance companies, etc. Because they are supposed to know my mobile number. In case they need something from me, they have to call me. These unwanted calls I don't want. But this number is being circulated over the dark web. That's why they're buying probably this data from someone else. And as per the privacy law, if somebody is collecting individuals' mobile numbers, email addresses, or any kind of personal information. So as I said in the previous slide, I talked about different kinds of API elements. So the sensitive data and personal data. So personal data is name, date of birth, email address, etc. Sensitive informations are like passport number, driver's license, your Aadhaar card, PAN card numbers, etc. Now, sensitive data should be kept secured, even if the data is getting transferred. Personal data also should be secured. Now, if a bank has collected 100,000 customers' mobile number and they are sharing this data with someone else, you will lose the trust in the bank. So you will not believe them, right? So building trust is very important, and that's why your data need to be redacted. Legal compliance also, you will get the benefit of it. You will avoid the penalties. The penalties, if you just do a Google search, you will find in 2022, the total consolidated amount of penalties imposed on various organizations in US, more than $5 billion. You just Google it, you will get it. All large financial organizations, banks, and insurance companies and healthcare companies, if you just do a Google search, in 2023, this penalty has increased to $13 billion. You just do a Google search, you will get it, the name of those organizations and the penalties, like 750 million USD, like 800 million USD, and this is real. I'm not creating a story, so you can just do a Google search, you will get to know that. And in India, currently because of this DPDP Act, there is a mandate that organizations has to be compliant. They will become compliant next 18 months probably, but they have to be compliant. And if they fail to do this, of course, they will attract the penalties as well. So that's why the benefits are building trust, avoiding the penalties, respect for the preferences. What is preferences? This is called consent management or customer preferences. If I'm a customer, I'm saying that you can share my data with your own subsidiaries, let's take, or you can share my data with your own trusted partners, not with anyone else. That's my customer preference. It's my data. I can govern the way you want to use the data. You cannot use the data on your own. You have to take fresh consent from me if you want to use it in a different way. So the way you want to use as an organization, if you want to use your customer's data, you have to exclusively take the consent from the customer that I want to use the data for this purpose, A, B, C purpose, etc. And you have to tell the customer. Now, of course, you have to respect the customer's preferences, customer loyalty. You will be able to mitigate the risks. You can prevent the data breaches, and also you can protect the reputation of the organization as well. Now, this will also help you in preventing the data breaches as well. Now, even if the data breach happens and if your data is already redacted, it's of no use to the hacker. That means you are protected. There is no need to negotiate with the hacker to get the data released. So these are certain benefits. And from advantage point of view, if you are ensuring that your customer's data is protected, secured, and the privacy is also protected, then of course you will get a competitive advantage in terms of your line of business. Whosoever is the competition, you will of course have a upper edge there. Now, having said that, I'm just trying to introduce ID Redact. So ID Redact helps you to do redaction. Now there is a difference, as I told you, between masking and redaction. Now in this, redaction concept is not something new. It was already there before. Now how people do redaction? Someone has to tell the database administrator that, okay, out of 20 columns, these are the 5 or 6 columns that need redaction. Someone has to tell them exclusively that these are the columns you need to redact it, okay? But today, the data size is quite huge. You can look at 1,000 columns are there, or 20 million records are there. Manually identifying and indicating that this data need to be redacted, it is cumbersome and difficult. It is also difficult for the database administrators. Now, the data has various forms. You have structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, image data, video data, audio data. There are different kinds of data. Structured tabular data, if the data is residing within an RDBMS system, you can indicate that these are the column headers. These columns need redaction. Fair enough. Now, if your PII data or personal information is present in the form of a PDF or Word document or a PPT, it's a violation because there is no way you can redact it. So there are two approaches to do redaction. Redaction concept, as I said, it's not a new concept. Many people, they're doing redaction since last 5-10 years. But these methods are very, very static and out of date. Now today, there is a method which is required, which is AI-driven method. So we, at Data Safeguard, we have developed our own proprietary algorithm, which is called CCE, that is called Cognizable Computing Engine. And we have a patent on this, and we have applied in USPTO. And this algorithm, it looks at, it's a bottom-up approach, which means irrespective of data, whether it is structured, unstructured, semi-structured, it looks at the entities. Each and every words, tokens, it connects those tokens to establish a context as well. You write an email, you say that, okay, this is my credit card number and this is my password. Now you send that email. Now you have expressed this to PII information in the form of a text and sentence. Traditionally, whatever way, you cannot identify these as PII. So the discovery is a problem. Now today, because of this technology that we have developed, it looks at the context, it looks at the elements as well. So context and element combination, it tells the algorithm and the process that, hey, there is a PII information which is getting exchanged, go and track it and catch it. That's why we have a competition, or we have a competitive advantage over all of our competitions today. Now you can look at major players are there. They have also flagship products, but their accuracy is around 20%, 30%. Now today we are operating at 99.5%. And we have tested it and we have implemented it in various places in US. In India, we are now going ahead with a few customers also, and we are in the process of deploying it. So this ID Redact, whether it is structured tabular data, you can upload the Excel CSV and get it redacted. If it's a RDBMS, NoSQL database, or MongoDB or Cassandra, you can establish a connection. You can build a connection within the product itself. You can establish the connection, connect to the source, fetch the data, do the redaction, and again put it back in the same source or in a different place as defined by the organization. So you can do RDBMS or any kind of databases. You can do redaction on individual CSV and Excel sheets. And also at the same time, you will be able to do redaction on PDF, PPT, and also Word documents. Now, apart from this, there is a third, or I would say a major source of PII data, that is logs. The logs are like system logs. The system logs are getting stored in logs databases like Splunk or Cassandra, or maybe sometimes in MongoDB. The logs contain the login IDs, IP, port addresses, and also various sensitive informations are stored there. Now, our product is also, we have connectors, and these connectors we can use to establish connections, pull the data, and process it. Okay. So with that, I'm just trying to mention here over. We have certain partnerships. We have already partnered with Azure and Oracle, Snowflake, and also Salesforce. So if you look at Azure, the product ID Redact that I'm talking about, it has 4 different channels. So we have a marketplace, we have an API, we have on-premise, and we have a customer API as well. So the marketplace, we are available on Azure Marketplace, where anyone can go and download this product directly and start using it to do redaction of documents. That is option number 1. We have enterprise channel, where we can have discussions, and we will be having our own processes, and it will take around a week's time to set up this whole product at an organization's own enterprise. We have APIs, where the developers can directly use the APIs and do the redaction of their own data as well. Okay. So, and Azure we are available, and going ahead, we will be connecting to other data sources as well and other players as well. So yeah, thank you. Any questions for me? No questions? Thank you.